Before taking the social media detox, I was essentially drowning in dopamine, which is that quick fire happiness response that you get from social media. It is the reason why so many of us are struggling with a social media addiction. And the negative impact of a dopamine release coming from social media is that it is very short-lived and you eventually crash, which I'm sure all of us have experienced. It leads to so many negative things like anxiety, depression, lack of creativity, lack of energy, all sorts of things. And I was feeling a fair amount of those. I was definitely experiencing heightened anxiety, lack of creativity, lack of energy before going on the social media detox. Dopamine can be a very good thing and a very bad thing, and the dopamine hit from social media is all-consuming, and that's what I'm getting at by saying drowning in dopamine. Oh, hey! So you may have been wondering where the heck I've been. It's been 2 Sundays since I last uploaded, or you might not have been wondering. Either way, I'm back online because I took a bit of a social media detox, more specifically a Instagram detox, because all of the other social media platforms I either am not on to begin with or I just don't really have a poor relationship with, but Instagram was the main one that I found to be so incredibly draining. So I just knew that it was about time that I finally honored my feelings and just completely cut it out for as long as I needed to in order to feel some sort of shift. And oh boy, that shift happened. The social media detox, or more so the Instagram detox, was something that I jumped into completely without planning to do it. I had basically reached a point where I was so out of alignment with my higher self that I was not enjoying anything that I was doing, any creation that I made during that time I just didn't like, and I ended up scrapping 2 videos throughout this time, and that was really the key motivator to actually just take some time off, because in the past I totally would have just suppressed that feeling for the sake of staying consistent. But the reality is, like, if I can't show up as my higher self when I'm creating content, that's not going to help you guys. So really this was something beneficial for the both of us, but for some reason I just had the strength this time around to completely disconnect, and it felt so freaking good. As I mentioned, I didn't set any time limit for myself. I was just going into it with the intention to stay offline until I could feel some sort of shift, and that shift happened in the most intense way I could have imagined. Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. Day 1, peace out social media. So initially I just felt immense relief from knowing that I was finally giving myself this time and I didn't have to worry about having any obligations. I was literally just listening to my intuition and doing whatever I felt was going to help me in the long run, and ultimately just what I wanted to do in that moment. And that was so freaking freeing. Like, I felt like a new woman after that. And I was stepping into a new era, a new phase of my life where I actually set boundaries for myself. I was actually able to finally allow my mind to quiet down, and I actually started to hear my conscience again, which sounds really weird, but I found that throughout this experience, because I wasn't constantly flooding my mind with new content and new things to think about, I was actually able to listen to my own mind and just be at one with my thoughts, which is so helpful when you're trying to start listening to your intuition again, because your intuition is born from the moments in silence where you are just at one with your mind and you're able to actually hear your conscience. But on day 1, I even allowed myself to visit my family friends. My parents had gone over and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come too, and I did. And that is something that I in the past have not done, because usually I was focusing on something social media related, as you know, like pertaining to my own content, or I was so honestly overwhelmed that I just needed to stay home because I truly felt like I just had nothing left to give. I just needed to take time to myself, and I'm now realizing how toxic that system and cycle was for my mental health, and it's probably why I also struggled with anxiety a lot recently. Obviously I'm not cured, but like, it's gotten better. I will say it has gotten much better. Day 2, I remember I was just sitting on my mat, I was doing some stretches. I just got this wave of motivation again to truly start working on myself and working on my mindset and rebuilding my mindset, because honestly it had just been so torn down from so much media pollution, I guess. Like, my mind was just so full non-stop of things that ultimately just don't matter to me. So really day 2 was the exact shift that I was looking for, and it came so fast, and it's shocking that it happened on day 2. But also, being that this was the second day of the social media detox, it was also the second day that I was actually doing my morning practices again. So things like reading, meditating, journaling, all of that type of stuff that honestly I had taken a break from, which I'm now realizing, like, why do we take breaks from things that are high energy habits? Like, why do we do that to ourselves? Truthfully, like, what is the reason? But the book I was reading was You Are Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. I love her writing style, and I highly recommend that book if you are looking to develop your money mindset in a positive way and maybe release some limiting beliefs when it comes to money and wealth and all of that. So you could definitely say that these other habits played a role in triggering this shift, but I truthfully believe that it was the absence of social media in my daily routines that led to me actually returning to my morning practices, and I felt my creativity come back. I felt so energized, and I actually felt like I was ready to start creating content again, which for so long now I had actually almost been building up some level of resentment towards, because I just felt like whatever I was creating wasn't coming from a inspired place. I really hope that you can see the difference between this video and some of my past recent videos, because energetically I feel like a totally different person. I feel like I'm actually connecting to my higher self again, which is obviously how I can best show up online. So it was really that disconnect that I was looking to solve with this social media detox. And I also just really gained so much clarity on what is actually important to me, and I was able to move forward throughout my days with more intention and just doing things that are gonna benefit me and going to actually get me towards reaching my goals. So that was when I decided that from here on out, I'm not going to waste my time with these distractions. I actually deleted TikTok, and I will get into more of my other changes that I've made later on in this video, but I basically just decided I'm not gonna waste my time anymore. I want to be very intentional with what I spend my time doing, and also what I'm putting into my mind. Obviously on my channel I talk so much about being conscious of what you're consuming, making sure that it is alignment with your morals, and also able to nourish your body properly. Like, I'm such a firm believer in eating well and eating whole plant foods, and obviously eating in a way that helps the environment and the animals and everything. Obviously, if you're new to my channel and you're hearing this, you're probably like, oh yeah, she's a vegan, and I am a vegan. It is something that I'm very proud of, but it's also so important to be intentional with what you're feeding your mind, because your mind is you, your mind is your soul, and if your mind is unhealthy, you're not gonna feel good. So I decided that no more low energy habits were gonna be making their way into my routines. No sir, not gonna happen. I am done with that phase in my life because it did not feel good, it was not serving me, and it was just making me a shell of my real self. So day 3, one more for safe measure. So on day 3, I felt honestly like I could return to social media, but to be honest, I was a little bit reluctant to go back on social media because I was just like feeling so amazing from the past 2 days of not having it. But also I wanted to make sure that I properly utilized the time that I had just spent offline. So I was like, one more day for safe measure. I don't want to jump to conclusions too fast. I want to actually soak in everything that I've learned. So here are the boundaries that I set for myself. Number 1, only allowing myself to go on social media for specific reasons, such as to post my own content, engage with my audience, respond to comments, messages, stuff like that, and also just to stay connected with the few creators that I do really find value in. Number 2, Saturdays going forward are going to be my designated social media free days. Usually on Saturdays I'm doing like house chores and editing to get ready for Sundays anyway, so it kind of just made sense to have Saturdays be totally social media free so that I can really focus on what it is that I want to achieve. Number 3, utilizing the mute feature more. So now I actually only have about like less than 10 people unmuted. As for everyone else, they're muted because it's not that I don't care, but it's that I don't want to be adding unnecessary content into my mind. And number 4, I will be posting on my Instagram stories less, just because I really just want to be creating meaningful, high value content. And something that I found extremely draining was posting when I didn't camera stopped recording. As I was saying, the content that I do share on my Instagram stories, I actually found to be very draining for me as a creator, because I was just creating content for the sake of creating content and it wasn't actually something that I was passionate about. And sometimes I really do have messages that I am so compelled to share online, specifically on my Instagram stories, but most days I'm not doing much. And on those days, I really just need to be recentering myself, learning, educating myself. I've been reading so much. I actually am planning to talk about this on my social media as well, but I started reading the Gene Keys, The Golden Path. This is actually book 3 out of 4, but it is the one talking about prosperity and your pearl sequence, and oh my gosh, it explains so much about life. And this is only one segment of this series. I actually have the main The Gene Keys book coming. I think it's coming next week from when I'm filming this. So really just whenever I'm not feeling compelled to share something on my Instagram stories, I'm going to be doing something that is high value and high energy for myself, because then I can also relay that information on my social media so that you guys can learn from it too. So it's a mutually beneficial thing, even though you might not be getting the same quantity of content from me that you might have been used to in the past. I mean, honestly, this has just been a very long time coming. I know now that this is a change I've wanted to make for such a long time. So it feels really aligned to finally be doing that for myself and also for you guys. Ultimately, I just want to be focusing on the thing that I am most passionate about, which is YouTube. So I obviously still need to find a balance between quality and quantity, and trying to be consistent, but also trying to show up as my best self online. So yeah, just wanted to mention that. So ever since doing the social media detox, despite it being only 3 days, I have felt the most aligned than I ever have in a long time, if ever, honestly. It really just made me realize how easy it is to become distracted by all of the external noise in our environments. And I'm definitely not saying that social media is a bad thing in any way. I have personally gained so much from social media and the creators that I follow. Obviously, I've mentioned Elise so many times on my channel. I've also mentioned Sorella Moore a ton on my channel, and if it wasn't for these two creators, I literally would not be the person I am today without them. Like obviously I have done the internal work, I have done the work in my life, but these two creators were the ones that have planted the seeds in my mind. So ultimately, social media can be an incredible gift, and the fact that we have access to so much knowledge and so much wisdom online is incredible, and we should definitely take use of that. But we also should be intentional with how we use it and when we use it, because that can totally change the course of the impact. It can be positive or it can be extremely negative, and it's all in how you use the tool. It's sometimes really hard to find a balance, and it's even harder to maintain the balance once you've found it. But what I realized from doing this social media detox is that I can try harder. I can choose to cut myself off from the source of these distractions whenever I need to, and yet also still show up and do what it is that I want to be doing. And obviously I want to be engaging with my audience. So it's really just finding the moments where I can be super intentional online and do what I need to do, but then when I don't need to be on social media, I want to be completely disconnected from it. So that is my intention going forward. I really hope that you were able to take something away from this video, and I hope that you are devoting some time to self-care today. I actually was listening to a podcast and I heard one of the creators that I follow, Blue, say this statement, and I really want to share this with you and integrate it into my language on here. I'm not here to influence you, but I am here to activate you, and I'm hoping that this video can activate something within you that will help you prioritize the things that are ultimately the most important to you. So with all that being said, I will talk to you soon. Bye!
We're living in the present, but our mind is in the past.